We have fire. Oh, it just went out in my... There we go. See the fire? Welcome to Ringtail Creek Farm. We've got some Xanthorrhoeas over there, but it's quite bushy, so I'll just we'll head over there and we'll take a look at the plant. Yeah, so here we are. These are the Xanthorrhoeas. These have got their trunks on them, so they're not the minors, but they're only very young. But this is the flower stalk here. Here's one that's already been broken off, so you could actually take one that's already dried, and that grows up out of there. This is the flower stalk, the petiole, and then the flower. This is the dead flower, and it's gone to seed. And these are all the seeds already opened up, so there's no seeds left in it. You can see all the little seed pods have gone out. When these are actually young, when they're first young, this is oozing with resin and you can drink it. It's like honey. But you'll see, because these are a bit old, yeah, you could actually start a fire with one of these. So we might even take that one actually back and give it a go. Have a go. So just see how we go with that one. But just to have a look at the plant, these plants grow quite large. They can grow tall, like 4 or 5 meters tall. These are very young, and they have resin in them, and the resin that grows on the sides of the trunks is black. It's like a purple, dark purple. That actually resin's the resin the Aboriginal use. Some of the Aboriginal people use to glue tips on their spears, and I believe the Aboriginal people use these as spears, and they would put like a hard point on it, like a eucalyptus or something like that on the end, and then they would make spears out of it, and you could throw with a woomera. But keep your eye out. All it is one trunk. They can sometimes split off for two, and then they've got this grass-like, and it's sharp. And you can see the leaf. It's got like it's V shaped. So it's like it's got a V on one side, and then it's flat. Like if you looked at it and you cut it that way, it'd look like a triangle. And the actual inside of this part inside here, you can actually eat that. It's got a high carbohydrate content. Aboriginal people used to eat it as a staple food. So it's got lots of uses, but the main thing I use it for is lighting fires. So we've been and had a look at the plant. That's on the upper section of the property. We live in a bit of an incline, and it comes all the way down to rainforest. You will not generally find Xanthorrhoeas or grass trees in the rainforest. They're normally up on sides of hills and things like that. And up throughout Queensland and New South Wales, they're kind of littered throughout. When you get into Victoria, they're actually there's less of them, and there are different species, and their petioles are like, they can be that round, they can be super fat, and so it can actually be difficult for the ones in Victoria to get ones thin enough to make a drill. But up here, they've got a few different varieties, and they grow in different areas, which produce different thicknesses of stalks and things like that. So this is the one that we picked from up there. I'll just put that aside. Basically this here is just one that's been cut, and that's going to be our drill, and this is the fireboard, and we'll go and do a demonstration up in the shed now. Yeah, so what we have here is the fireboard. It's glossed up again, and so you can just get in and just chisel away at the glossiness, just so it actually builds a friction, because I could feel that it was just sliding over it like smooth. You want to feel a bit of force against it, like it's actually a little bit hard to rub back and forth. And you leave all those little bits of wood chips in there, and then when this goes on, it grinds them up and then spits it out of the little V bit on the end. You can see a bit of smoke building up. It's time to keep going. Don't just think there's a bit of smoke that's lit. Did it light? No, it did. So it is light. You can see that smoke still going. So that means it's a light. See, that's your punk now, and it's lit. See a little bit of, stay there. I've got my bird's nest here. This, I've never tried it with this, so this type of material in the bird's nest, but we'll give it a go. You pick up your leaf that you've collected your little punk on, you tip it into there, and then you enclose it. And then blow. We have fire. Oh, it just went out of my... There we go. So with that demonstration, I'd just like to explain a few things. So simply, we have the petiole. This is a fresh one that hasn't been burnt in, and I tried that one to start with, and it requires a bit of effort. So for that to happen, you'd have 2 to 3 people around in a circle and getting it nice and warm, and that would dry it out enough to then do what I did with the second one that you saw with the demonstration. Once you've burnt it, you don't put the V in first. You just split this. So this is a piece that's been cut, and then you just grab a knife. You can use a knife, or you can use a machete, whatever you want, or an axe, and you've split it. That's your fireboard. It's that simple. You can put a little divot in there with a rock or with a knife, and that's where you start from. And so the idea is that you actually burn it in first. It hasn't been burnt in yet. You have to burn it in, and that's where it takes a lot of effort for you. It's probably the hardest part of it, especially up here in Queensland, as mentioned before. You burn it in a few years, or if there's just one of yours, you'll be tired just after burning it in. Once it's burned in and you've got a little bit of charcoal look on it, then you'll grab and you'll take the V out of it. And so you can either cut it in with a knife, or you can use any type of product, or a rock, and you'll take that V. See the V? Turn it around. That is where the punk builds up. So as the friction builds up in this, and as this spins on that, it creates tiny little bits of wood chip. I'll just run it slowly there. If you can see it down there, have a look. And normally, before you then do this, you need to get a leaf or something. So you need to collect it, because you need to pick this punk up and put it inside your bird nest. So you want to put it on something. If you just do it on the ground, you're not going to be able to pick it up. So you put it on something so it doesn't get lost. Okay, so I'm putting it this side so you can see. Let's see if we can build up a tiny bit, and you'll just see a little bit of punk coming out of it. And then just for demonstration's sake, if you see any, let me know when. See the punk building coming out of that? You can start to see it building up a little bit. It takes a while, and it's starting to get a bit of friction, but I'll move this. See the punk? That's the wood chips. That's just fine, fine, fine wood chips. And what happens, it builds up in this area, and then you keep going, and the heat of the two frictions ignites that. And that just smoulders. That's not fire yet. You need to then put that smouldering little, looks like the end of a cigarette butt or something, into a bird's nest. And that is dry, fine material. Anything, coconut husk, anything that's dry and fine. And put it inside that, then blow it up into a fire. That's actually how you start the fire. Some other tips. The main tips you're going to come across is the glazing of this part. So that's the main thing, is the friction and making sure you get the appropriate friction. You don't have to use this as a board. You can use other materials, but doing it by hand in Australia, I've come across so far, this is the easiest because it takes the least amount of heat to ignite that punk. So you can use different material for both, as mentioned. Up here in Queensland, you can use a fireboard, and you can use like, it's called wild tobacco. But you can use many other plants, and what I've found is that you can use you can't use softwoods. They don't tend to work, like pines and things like that. The resin's too high in it, and it creates that glazing issue, and the resin just clogs it all up. So you can use all hardwoods, but the best ones to do are ones even that are partly semi-rotted, but you will find it hard to get them that they're dry. But if you got them, then dried them, then you can use it. Hibiscus is one you can use, kind of viney type plants or vines. Many of the vine type plants you can use, and for some reason they work well. I hope you enjoyed the video. It is as brief as possible with as much information as I could put in there. If there's anything that anyone would like to see further or broken down, put it in the comments and I'll do what I can to put it back out there for you guys. Also, I could go out into the bush and start this from scratch, although that would be a longer video. But God bless you all, and next time.